Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Thursday, the 4th of May, 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the market performed pretty well today, given the lead-in from Wall Street, and the S&P ASX 200 finished the day flat, or just down a couple of points, to 7,193 points. It fell sharply on opening and then spent the rest of the day making up ground. The importance of the banks was amply demonstrated. Only about 25% of the top 200 stocks fell today, but because the big banks tumbled, more of that shortly, the market ended a couple of points down. Otherwise, real estate stocks, they were standout performers with the sub-index up 2%. Materials, technology, utilities, industrials and energy companies all performed well. BHP and Fortescue both closed up around 1.5%. Santos jumped nearly 2%. Gold company Evolution Mining was the best performer of the top 200, rising more than 7%. Story number 2, it was a horror day for the banks, even though National Australia Bank outlined a pretty decent half-year result. Commonwealth Bank finished the day 2.6% lower. Westpac was down 4%. ANZ fell 2.4%. And National Australia Bank, which outlined a $4 billion profit, fell more than 6%. Another regional bank in the US is close to failing, and that sent global bank stocks lower. California-based Pacific West share price tumbled 50% overnight after it said it was looking for a buyer, and there was a knock-on to everyone else, including the Aussie banks. National Australia Bank's result was actually pretty good, but profit margins are shrinking, and boss Ross McEwen said things are getting tougher, hence the sell-off. Story number 3, the big budget news over the past 24 hours is what the government is calling an historic wage rise of 15% for aged care workers at a cost of $11.3 billion. Personal care workers, registered and assistant nurses in the sector, they'll all receive a pay boost, which was decided by the Fair Work Commission last year. It will commence on 1 July. Aged care Minister Anika Wells said the increase is life-changing for people and rights are wrong for an undervalued group of people in Australia. Story number 4, soaring coal prices and the Palaszczuk government's new royalty regime are expected to deliver a budget boost of $8 billion more in coal royalties than forecast in last June's budget, according to the Queensland Resources Council. Of course, we're talking about the Queensland budget here. Based on current thermal and metallurgical coal prices and export volumes, the coal royalty take this financial year is expected to reach a record $13 billion, up from $10.7 billion forecast last December, according to a report in the Financial Review. This is good news for the state's coffers, obviously, but not necessarily for future investment. Queensland Resources Council's Chief Executive Ian Macfarlane said the recent change in the royalty regime without consultation had created a very uncertain climate in which to invest in. The state's previous royalty regime topped out at 15% for prices above $150 a tonne. Now, the new system introduces 3 tiers. There's a royalty rate of 20% for prices above $175 a tonne, 30% at $225 a tonne, and 40% for prices above $300 a tonne. And finally, story number 5, the US Federal Reserve lifted interest rates this morning by 1/4 of a percentage point to their highest level in 16 years. Chair Jerome Powell conceded there could be a mild recession in the world's largest economy. He still thinks avoiding a recession is more likely, but tighter credit, thanks to higher rates, is having an impact. The statement with the announcement removed the sentence saying some additional rate rises might be needed. Powell also said the US banking system is resilient, notwithstanding the recent bank failures. The rate rise comes as the economy appears to be cooling, with consumer spending in the US flat in February and March, while manufacturing is weakening. Even the surprisingly resilient job market, which has kept the unemployment rate near 50-year lows for months, is showing cracks. That's it for the afternoon report for Thursday, the 4th of May, 2023. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.